Good evening. Welcome to the Living in Utah live question and answer event. I try to hold this every Thursday evening at 8 p.m. Mountain Time. Been pretty consistent. I've only missed a couple of weeks over the last 6 months. So this just an open forum. So you're welcome to ask questions, whether it's going to be on the state of Utah or if you are joining us from another country and you would like answers to things in the United States, by all means, give me a shout out and I will try my very best to answer to the best of my knowledge. It's been a weather-wise in Utah this week. It's been an up and down. This weekend, we had high 70s in northern Utah. Beautiful, beautiful weekend. Had a bit of a storm front come through. Received a little bit of rain earlier in the week. And today we got a fair amount of rain, which we really, really need. Our reservoirs are low. And I've talked to people who have visited some of them, and they say that we did seem to get a little bit of snow and everything this year, but they're still really, really low. So I actually talked to somebody who fishes at a particular spot, and he had said that, like 5 years ago, they were fishing about 50 feet higher. That's how much the water has dropped now to go fishing in that same area. So it's a little bit of a drought. So some parts of the state's doing a little bit better than others. So see how that goes. In the news this week, not a lot really going on in the news in the state of Utah. They are, we just wound down the legislature session that went on. And so that is done. There was an article produced about Liberty Returns. Where in Utah are you located? I'm up in Logan. I'm just north of Salt Lake City. Love Logan. I love Cache Valley. Great area. Glad you're joining us from Logan. So I'm a Utah State Aggie fan. I enjoy their sports. I enjoy the drive to Logan. That's why I go to the football games up there, catch 1 or 2 basketball games. I love the drive through the canyon. I love Cache Valley. It's a great area. You live in a great city. I would like to live up there myself, but probably doing real estate, it's a little tough to commute from Logan into the Salt Lake area. So maybe when I retire. But Logan, great area. Will the higher interest rates cool down the real estate market? Great question. Currently, the answer to that is no. It has not cooled it down at all. Now, as we go down the road, so a couple things have happened. There's been some people sitting on the sidelines, so to say, that have been waiting to get in the game. And they've noticed the interest rates go up. So now they're rushing into the game to get some playing time. That has fueled the market. Now, will that be a temporary thing? It's hard to say, but we have seen a huge increase in January, February, and March. And normally January and February is a slower time period. Usually about April, May, it starts going as the weather changes. So right now we are seeing, a crazy, crazy market. Where will it go from here? I guess the answer to that would be, what will the interest rates do the rest of the year? Now, the Federal Reserve has penciled in, I think it's either 6 or 7 rate increases this year. Now, that's penciled in. Don't forget about a pencil. It's got an eraser on the other end. So they can erase that. I personally don't think they will raise another 6 to 7 times. They've talked about raising interest rates probably 6-7 months ago, and they kept delaying it. When we finally got a raise here last month, Not that I'm hoping for a raise, but they raised it by 0.25%. So they kind of like held off. So for them to go another 6 times this year, 6-7 times, it's almost once a month they would have to raise the rates. I personally don't see that happening, but who knows? Federal Reserve controls all that. It's up to them. It's not up to me. But they have penciled in 6 to 7 increases. We'll see how that pans out. So if we got 6, so right now we're probably about 4.5, 4.6% is where we're sitting. Let's just say, and there's some other factors that factor into it, but if we went another 0.25% times 6 would be 1.5%. That would push us at about 6% at the end of the year, let's say. I think that could change the market. It definitely could level it off. Rough numbers, really, really rough numbers. It really depends on what price bracket you're in. But every time it goes up about 10%, you lose about, every time it goes up 1%, the interest rate, you lose about 10% of your buying power. So now we're about 4.6, 4. So we were in the 3s just a few months ago. If you qualified for, say, $500,000 4 or 5 months ago, you probably qualify now for, say, $450,000, if that was your max qualifying, as a rough number. So buying power goes down as rates go up. So if we went up to, say, 6%, if you qualified, say, for $500,000, you probably would qualify maybe for $400,000 now. So it changes a lot, and that could change the market. So every group of buyers that you have, if you were to categorize them, say, by $200,000 increments, as the rates go up, some people will be dropping down, which puts more pressure on the lower priced homes for sure. But it definitely could cool the market. So where we're going from here, I think a lot really depends on where inflation goes. And along with the inflation will be what's the long-term effects with the war in Russia. Being a global economy, everything is global, tied together. Could cause inflation to continue increasing, and they may have to continue raising. Who knows? Maybe there's an end to the war. That's what I would like to see. Maybe things would stabilize more on that front. Some countries might start allowing trade again with Russia. Who knows? There's a lot of ifs that go on. So it's some difficult next 6 to 8 months to see how things go. So that's where I'm at with it. Yeah, where we're going. I don't anticipate another 6 rate increases this year. Personally, I don't think that's going to happen, but it could happen. That's what they've got penciled in. So we'll see what happens. I work for the state, and wages haven't even come close to keeping pace with inflation. Seems obvious we are in a bubble here in Logan, unlike 2008. When do you think prices will start to decrease? Well, there's a couple things on that question. So I was through the 2008 bubble. The 2008 situation was totally different than what we currently have. Back then, it crashed due to fraudulent loans. That's a simple way to put it. There were loans that were written that I shook my head about. I mean, I pretty much knew it was going to crash back in 06, 07. You could see the writing on the wall. There was a lot of interest-only loans. There was a lot of variable rate loans, anticipating that people in 4 or 5 months were going to make 4 or 5 years, we're going to make all this more money to afford the increased home payment. And people's wages typically do not go up at the rate that they were anticipating. And there was the old, no docs, no ID. They were issuing loans literally with with no documentation. I mean, they were just like ghost loans. It's just, you would just turn in an application and it was getting approved. There was a lot of fraud going on. There was fraud from a variety of entities. I heard that at some places they were literally rubber stamping approvals, just going down the line. So there was a lot of fraud that was going on, and a lot of that's been stamped out now. So like they put a lot of things into play to try to stop that. And right now I do not see many interest-only loans or variable rate loans being given out. Pretty much the only thing I see right now is traditional 30-year, 15-year mortgages, whether it's FHA, VA, or conventional loan. So I'm not seeing those particular loans going on now. So that's why we had the bubble burst in 2008. And actually in northern Utah, we didn't see the bubble burst up here. Homes went down a little bit. St. George got hit pretty hard, Las Vegas, Phoenix. The reason those cities got hit so hard, they are typically cities that people have vacation homes in or second homes. When times are tough, people keep their primary residence, they get rid of the toys, the motor homes, the second homes. And that just makes the problem even worse. You'll find in northern Utah, most of the homes are primary residence. Not as many vacation rental homes in northern Utah. Predominantly, most of them are where the ski resorts are. So there are some, but in areas like St. George, Mesquite, Las Vegas, Phoenix, there's a lot more. Florida, some areas got hit the hardest. But I can't say that we're not going to have a crash. No one can predict the future. There's a lot that goes on, or that could go on. But I think we would need, in order to have a crash like we had in 08, and that was a mortgage-related crash. But if we had a financial crash of the market, so if the global economy, or maybe even the United States economy takes a huge downturn, and I mean high unemployment, stock market crash, not just, we had like a little correction a few weeks ago. We were down, about 1,000 points, 900 points, and we've regained some of that. That to me really wouldn't affect a whole lot. But if we went to a World War III situation and Russia starts nuking NATO countries, then we could have a financial crash for sure, because you're going to have all of NATO, United States going to war. That would be an ugly war, and that definitely could affect the global economy, and that could definitely create some problems. It's not something that I hope happens. I search for peace. I still do not understand why we are at war. So now, when you think prices will decrease, that's a good question. I think the number one driver on price decreasing, we have two issues. We have a supply and demand issue right now, and that's why this is across the country. Low supply, high demand. And until you flip that around, the supply-demand equation, you will not see prices go down. There's just a lot of demand, low supply. And you see that in Utah, but you also see it in a lot of other states, Texas and Florida and many other places. And some of the demand is due to migration. People work from home, get to move to states they'd like to work out of and live. And we also have historically low interest rates that have just crept up, that people are all trying to jump in to get locked in to a home and a loan. So until we sort out the supply and demand, and one side, the supply thing is kind of hard to increase. You either got to build more homes, which is tough. We are nationally down about 4 million homes from the 08 crash. A lot of builders went out of business. A lot of builders downsized. We were building like a quarter of the homes that we needed on a yearly basis back then. Even when we were in, say, 2012, 2013, we were probably building 50% of the homes that we needed on a yearly basis. So we're down about 4 million homes, somewhere around there nationally. So that has factored into the supply and demand issue. And the other thing with that supply, to try and increase the supply, is, as you know, people in Utah, some people would like to upgrade their homes, but where do they move to? So if they sell their home, they're also competing with everybody else for their next home. And some people aren't keen on that uncertainty. And some homeowners aren't willing to maybe rent or live with relatives. Don't blame them. Don't blame them. So they just stay in their home that they're in. But as far as, decreasing in Utah, it might be tough. If so many people move in here also, so that increases demand. And you're in an area of Cache Valley that is seeing enormous growth for Cache Valley. So until we sort out the supply, the other part of the equation, though, that can trigger that would be interest rates. So where are interest rates going and where will we stop? If we go 5, 6, 7, 8% here in the next year, 2, 3, oh yeah, definitely I could see the market at least flatlining, possibly coming more towards a buyer's market at where at least you could ask for maybe, a couple $1,000s off the home, or maybe the seller pays a little bit of your closing costs, and maybe we won't have these offers that are $10, $20, $50,000 above ask. So it's a long answer, but that's the economics of it. So. And by the way, too, since you're living in the state of Utah, just think about this for one moment. Do you think the state of Utah wants home prices to go down? They do not. They are collecting record amounts in property tax. So if it goes down, they collect less revenue. So our homeowners association common in Utah. Here in California, most neighborhoods have an HOA and some have 2 or 3. Jeff? No. Very few HOAs. Most of the HOAs that I see will be condo complexes. And we have very few condos in Utah in general. Townhomes, nearly just about every townhome community that I'm aware of has an HOA. And the other would be possibly some of your over 55 communities are HOA. And the over 55 communities, I would say, probably want an HOA. They don't want. My dad's in an HOA, so he's 80 years old. He doesn't want to mow his grass anymore, so he likes his HOA. But that is about majority. We do have some single family homes in some like planned communities that have some HOAs, but it's a smaller percentage. So, but typically most of the stuff that I sell, single family home, is not an HOA. Townhomes would be, and we don't have a lot of condos, so don't really come across many condos. You are right. I never thought about that. Yeah, there's good and there's bad. So the other way to reduce demand on homes is for people to move out of the state. And typically, there's a few different ways people move out of the state, but one of them would be through job loss. Say companies decide they no longer want to do business in Utah and they're moving companies. Well, the downside to that is, where do wages go? Wages typically will decrease. So, and since you're living in Utah, you probably have noticed that wages have increased enormously in this state. And not only wages, but we have a variety of skilled jobs that pay well in many career fields. So whether you're in the tech industry, you're in the defense industry, the outdoor recreational industry, If you're an artist, you're an engineer, you're a computer programmer, very good wages, very good wages. So, and part of that too, with the wage thing too, is, and I've got many friends that have done this, is there's so much competition for talent that people jump companies in Utah all the time. I talk to people all the time. I'm like, do you still work for such company? No, I don't work for them anymore. I went down the road down here. I paid a little bit more money, or I had better benefits. I got more vacation time. At where if you have fewer of those opportunities, it's sometimes harder to get raises and everything. Some people are getting big raises by going to other companies. They're being recruited left and right, which I think is a good thing. I think it's a good thing. So if you're in the workforce, I've got friends that have, yes, worked for defense contractors, 2 or 3 of them, and swap jobs, etc. And every time it's come with a pay increase. So with that growth, as we were talking about, there's an article out. There's a lot of counties in Utah right now struggling with trying to keep the rural country life, small town atmosphere that some counties have had for many years, along with the growth that's coming in. How do you manage it? Is there a balancing act? And that's why some people have moved to certain counties, because of the hometown feeling. The person from Logan, Utah knows that very well. Cache County up there it's a county that when I go to Cache County, you go in the store, you go to get something to eat, people there treat you like you're a local. I don't even live in the area, but you feel welcomed, and people are ever so friendly. So, but when I'm in Salt Lake City, it's a different atmosphere, 100% difference. It's like night and day. You could sometimes go in a store in Salt Lake City and people would not utter a word to you. You go to Cache Valley, Logan area, and people open up to you like you live down the road. It's a different atmosphere. But anyway, so some of these counties are struggling with what they are trying to keep that, but also have growth and tax dollars and everything that goes with it. Another problem we have in Utah at the moment, this article was, we have a problem on our highways of people driving over 100 miles per hour. And I can personally tell you that I travel I-15 every day. It is not an isolated incident of, oh, we caught one person doing over 100 mile an hour. No. I see it all the time. In the article, in 2022, for this year alone, we're only 3 months in. Jennifer, 3 months, 4 months, April 1st. State troopers have pulled over 1,300 drivers exceeding 100 mile per hour. 1,300 drivers that have been ticketed for over 100 mile an hour. Just a few weekends ago, they had the NASCAR race down in Las Vegas, so we headed down there. And large portions of I-15 heading south are 80 mile an hour. Once you get out of the Provo-Orem area, there's quite a few stretches that are 80. You get to Cedar City, and it usually drops down, and then you pick back up to 80 mile an hour. And I was doing 80, a little bit, maybe a little bit plus, 1 mile an hour over. But I had people go by me, travel by like I was standing still. I actually had to look down at the odometer thinking, did I all of a sudden drop down to 60 mile an hour? And these cars were just going by me at least 100 mile an hour. It wasn't a slow approach. It was woof, straight by. So on a consistent basis. So yeah, I think the article's true that they had in the article, they caught somebody going through Salt Lake County. And there are times throughout the day that you can't do this, but they were in the HOV lane. I think they clocked them at about 110 or 112 mile per hour through Salt Lake County. So must have caught them at the right time of day, because I didn't think you could travel that fast through there. Any more questions this evening? It's about most of what I have. If I want to revisit any of the questions that I had before, by all means, shoot me something, and we can we'll talk about it. Got homeowners associations. We got most of that. I can let me pull up a map real quick here. If you are joining us from out if you're joining us from out of the state of Utah, one of our guests here on the show tonight is in Logan, Utah. So let me give you an idea where Logan's located. So this will be Logan up here. So right here is the Idaho border, and over here is the Wyoming border, and there is Salt Lake City. You are approximately an hour and 45 minutes to 2-hour drive if you were to go from Salt Lake City into the Logan, Utah area. Logan is a college town. I consider it a college town. It's home to Utah State University. You have that throughout the town that you go. You have that college feel to it. Very similar to Cedar City, Utah. That is a college town also, and that's located in like the middle of the state, middle to the southern part of the state, and it's home to Southern Utah University. Here's Cedar City. You're about 1 hour outside of St. George. That's another city that would be considered a college town. Okay, I'm going to call it an evening then if we don't have any more questions. I appreciate the questions. It was great. I love the state of Utah. I love doing the videos, and I love doing the question and answer. I think it's a great place to live. I think it's one of the great places in the United States also to visit. If you do not plan on living here, definitely visit the state of Utah sometime. We have 5 amazing national parks. Pick 1 or 2 of them. And if you enjoy photography, you'll be busy all day. It's a great place to visit. Thank you, and everyone have a great weekend.